Hi, everybody. Joe Cioffi here. Weather in 5 days in 5 minutes. And coming up tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, we're doing a special Friday night podcast because of the snow that is in the forecast for the mid Atlantic states and just making it up to about New York City and southern New England. So we'll talk about that. We'll also take a look at the holiday weekend and what seems to be an intriguing long range, and we'll get into that tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. So we do have winter weather advisories up, and they extend from Long Island across New Jersey, and then they turn into winter storm warnings. As we look now, they've just added winter storm warnings for southwestern New Jersey and southeastern Pennsylvania, including Philadelphia, and those warnings extend back through south central and through southeast and south central Pennsylvania down into Maryland. The winter storm warning is north of Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. I'm sorry, Washington, D.C. Baltimore is in a winter storm warning. Washington, D.C. is in a winter weather advisory. So the advisories are over the Delmarva Peninsula and then going westward, and then they become winter storm warnings just to the northwest of Washington, D.C. and across much of northwestern Virginia, the rest of central and western Maryland, and into eastern West Virginia, with advisories extending into the Ohio Valley, southern Ohio, southern half of Indiana, Illinois, and Missouri, and also northeastern Kentucky and western West Virginia. Don't want to forget the West. We've got a smattering of winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings up for northern parts of Colorado and the state of Wyoming, eastern Idaho, and winter storm warnings are up for the Sierra Nevadas, where some big snows are likely to fall there. Now, here's our low. It's sitting in northern Arkansas as of 1 p.m. this afternoon. There's a frontal boundary that extends east from there that runs toward the Carolinas. So that kind of gives you an idea of how this is going to play out in terms of where the surface low is going to track. And we do have cold air, not so much at the surface at the moment, but there is cold air aloft, and there is even colder air up in eastern Canada. And some of that cold air is going to get involved with this. So, in many areas which just came off a heavy, wet snow and a borderline cold air at best, this time around it's probably going to be a bit more powdery, and temperatures will probably drop not only below freezing, but more than likely in many areas will be down in the upper 20s when it is snowing this time around. And here's a look on the satellite. It's not the most organized system in the world. We have that subtropical jet in the Pacific, but this system is not going to be able to take advantage of that stream of moisture because there just doesn't seem to be enough amplitude with the systems aloft. We also have clouds back up through the northern plains and into the Pacific Northwest, and get ready for another round of big rain and snow in California. Here's the radar as of 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll give it a quick refresh. Now you can see that the southern area of moisture in the Gulf states is completely separate from the moisture that is producing the snow at the moment in Illinois and Indiana, and now moving into Ohio and eastern Kentucky. We actually have some echoes aloft already arriving in western Pennsylvania. There's a little bit of snow shower activity separate from this system in upstate New York and on up into northwestern New England and into the northern Great Lakes. And we're starting to see that leading edge of moisture coming into the west, where they're going to have to be dealing with rounds of heavy rain in the coming days. Now, I shortened this up. This is usually 7 days, but there's a system at the end of next week, so I wanted to leave it out of this, and this way we get a clean number here in the eastern part of the U.S. So WPC is forecasting a quarter of an inch of liquid up into about northern New Jersey, about Route 78 to Long Island, just touching Long Island, and then you start to see lower amounts as you go further to the north and up into New England. There's an area of a half to three-quarters of an inch of liquid in West Virginia and northwestern Virginia, and this is why we have the winter storm warnings there. And in the other areas where we have the winter storm warnings, we're looking at maybe not quite a half an inch, but certainly 3/10, 4/10, and that could wind up being a 5 to 6 inch snowfall. This is the updated Weather Service snow forecast, and you can see these 6 inch amounts in central and southwestern Pennsylvania. In northwestern Virginia, we're seeing areas of 6 to 10 being indicated by the Weather Service. That's in eastern West Virginia and northwestern Virginia. Then further east in New Jersey, we're looking at 3 to 4, 3 to 5, south along and south of Route 78. Around New York City and Long Island, I'm thinking 2 to maybe 3. And then the amounts tail off some more as you head into the Hudson Valley in southern Connecticut, a coating to maybe an inch or so. And further north, we're seeing for upstate New York, and this is for after the system goes by. We've got an upper trough that's going to be coming through on Saturday, so there'll be some lake effect going on. So it looks like many areas will pick up anywhere from 2 to as much as ½ a foot, particularly up in areas north of I-90, south of Lake Ontario, and according to an inch extends up into Vermont and New Hampshire. WPC, the weather prediction, folks, the the dark blue is 40%. The next shade lighter is 50% for at least 2 inches, and that extends in through Long Island. We've got that running up into northern New Jersey, into northeastern Pennsylvania. I always like to use that 50% line as where I would put my 2 inch forecast along the 50% line. And the southern end of it goes down into southernmost New Jersey, southern Delaware, and then south of Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. So we're going to see snow in Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, and New York out of this. And with regards to the probability for at least 4, we're looking at an area of 40% probability for at least 4 into central New Jersey. I think that might be a little too low. And 50 to 60% across southern Pennsylvania. And then you get into the 70 and 80 and 90% numbers back in southwest PA, down into eastern West Virginia and northwestern Virginia. So this weather system here is going to play along to the northeast. It moves quickly. Snow comes in tonight. It ends tomorrow morning. As the low moves out, we have an upper trough that's going to be swinging around. So there might be some lingering snow showers around during the morning and early afternoon for eastern Pennsylvania, and particularly for southern New England and Long Island and parts of Jersey too. That goes out. It's going to be cold. By Sunday morning, we'll be in the teens to mid 20s, mid 20s warmer urban areas, upper teens and low 20s everywhere else, and middle teens in the cold spots. Improving weather conditions coming later Saturday afternoon and Saturday night. Sunday and Monday, President's Day, they look like 2 good days, although it'll be on the cold side Sunday, moderating a little bit on Monday. And as I hinted earlier, I'm kind of intrigued with the long range. Just really quickly switch over to the upper air. And all the models are showing this toward the end of next week, a very strong system coming down out of Canada and diving into the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states. Now, this looks fairly energetic. We'll see how it plays out in the coming days and how models handle this. But all the all 3 models, actually, we'll throw the icon in, 4 models, all showing this idea. So we'll see where this adventure takes us. Winter may not be done yet. Okay, don't forget tonight the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time, and we hope to see you then. If not, have a good weekend.